It's the Underpowered Hour on this week's show. Ike is away, so Liza is filling in, and we talk about the new electric Range Rover Evoque spotted, the international word is in on the Okta Defender, and JLR invests money in Portland. And now, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Beres, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at theberescollection.com or follow us on Instagram at theberescollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ike Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Liza. Well,
Howdy.
This is week one without Ike, and I already feel as though a weight has been lifted. It's amazing.
I, on the other hand, I am lost without Jenna. I am lost
Right.
without her 82 text messages every morning, updating me on a million different projects that we're both working on together. And it's like my true north is off. It's like my compass doesn't know which way to point. She's in a different hemisphere.
You have to redeclinate.
How am I going to get by without her?
I don't know. We're all struggling. Speaking of Jenna and her 82 text messages, Jenna is in Africa, but Jenna's phone is unfortunately
So I think it would be unfair to tell the story without all of the details.
Oh, yeah. We're going to recap that for sure.
So, yeah, definitely. When they get back, come early March, assuming that they don't die over there, assuming they don't drive off any cliffs or get eaten by any safari animals.
Would be a lion, I imagine, yeah.
Probably. I mean, they sent me some really cool photos of elephants the other day, so I suppose they could be trampled by elephants.
They seem very close to those elephants, so...
Yeah. Obviously. But yeah, I'm excited. We're going to have to do like a new winter/summer breakdown. I don't know.
Well, it's winter here, but summer there.
That's what I'm saying. We're going to have to do some hybrid breakdown of the adventures of Ike and Jenna and Linus and Maddie in South Africa.
Well, speaking of a hybrid breakdown, in the news this week, I don't know if you've heard, but Land Rover, now referred to as JLR, much as Twitter is referred to as X, but absolutely no one calls it that. The new Range Rover Velar, and this article from Auto Evolution says, is morphing into an electric crossover in 2026. I like the use of the term morphing, as I imagine it holds up some type of magic item, speaks some appropriate words, and then turns into an electric crossover.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Or He-Man, or, any of the ones that, change from one thing to another. And like He-Man, it will have a furry loincloth and nothing else.
Right.
So. Yeah, it's going to be great. There's some photos here in this article as well that have, of course, it swirly camoed and all of that kind of stuff, as if we don't know what the Velar is going to look like. And that is, of course, if someone just kind of squooshed in Photoshop a Ford Explorer. But the roof is adorned with quite a bit of gizmos and gadgetry, a LiDAR sensor, and some other things.
Who knows? I mean, it's such an early prototype that who's to say that those little knobbly bits on the roof would actually stick around, or if they're just for their testing. But yeah, this Velar is not going to be the first all-electric vehicle that JLR is coming out with. That is going to go to Range Rover later this year.
That's right.
And this Velar is coming out in 26. And this one is supposed to be it's going to be the first model that they're putting on their EMA platform, whereas the Range Rover is going to be an electrified variant of their MLA platform.
All right, of the old platform. Interesting.
Yeah, so lots of spy photos and like 10 million articles all posting the same 20 photos that some spy photographer managed to snap in what looks like a cold country with a lot of snow on the ground.
Yep. Unobstructed, beautifully composed spy photos. So
Right.
I don't know how spy-y those photos actually are. But
yeah. I mean,
what do you think? Do you think people are going to be down for an electric
I
Velar?
do. I mean, I think the appetite for electric vehicles is not going away in the rest of the world anytime soon. I think in the United States, we're all very confused about how we're supposed to feel around the petroleum industry and gas-powered vehicles with this new administration.
According to ads
But,
I saw during the Super Bowl, we're supposed to love it. It's fine. It's all fine.
Yeah, again, lots of mixed messaging coming out because I want an electric Scout more than I can possibly tell you. But, got to still care about those gas-powered vehicles. So, I think, though, honestly, the rest of the world is going to like this vehicle. I think a Range Rover Velar has never been, for me, it's not a vehicle that I want to purchase or drive or spend that kind of money on.
Right.
But there is absolutely a market for it. And will that market want an all-electric version? I think absolutely, personally. But, it's not a vehicle that I'm going out of my way to spend money on anytime soon. Because if they had an all-electric version of a Defender, I would consider it. But I was reading that they have admitted that the all-electric Defender is really far off. They think maybe by the end of this decade, but there's not a lot of room in the Defender to pack in batteries and pack in, all of that stuff, what with the suspension and the way that the drivetrain works on a Defender. And so I read an article also in Auto Evolution that said that this is far off for the Defender. It is just not quite ready to go there yet. It's going to be much further along in their evolution, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think, it's interesting, and maybe it's better to start with something like the Velar, where it's going to be a city-driven vehicle, I would say 100% of the time, maybe.
Sure. I mean, Range Rover and then the Velar, it makes sense.
Yeah.
An all-electric Defender is just much further away.
Yeah, I also think from a desirability standpoint, an all-electric Defender is probably less desirable than some kind of either clean hybrid or traditional hybrid or something. I mean, I have wanted a P400E Defender forever, and they just refuse to bring them to this country. I guess they're not good enough, but at this point, that's not going to happen, so we're going to have to wait. But some kind of, a hydrogen electric hybrid Defender where you could actually bring, I don't know, canisters of hydrogen with you, like the Monsters
For the record,
Inc.
I think you are making that one up at the moment. I don't think that is actually on anybody's horizon.
I would like to see that. I think that's I think hydrogen is the jerry can of the future. And, I'd like to see that happen. But you're probably right. No one takes my great ideas back there in jolly old England. But speaking of the Defender, I know this is something you are particularly passionate about. International reviews of the Defender Octa are coming in from all over the world, and unilaterally, it's a winner, it seems. People seem to really, really enjoy it. There's an article in Drive that kind of points out some of the pros and cons, things they liked. So a few things they liked was retains the 3.5-ton towing off-road and healthy payload specs, which is true. I don't know how many people are towing with their Octa, but maybe. I mean, it would tow like a son of a bitch.
I mean, if we were to replace our 110 with an Octa, we would tow our little adventure trailer and go off-roading with it, for sure. We are literally the demographic that would want a towing package on an Octa, so...
That's right. We would just tow it at 250 miles an hour now. So nothing can match its sheer breadth and ability and performance. That is true. Obviously, this is the highest performance Land Rover, period, ever made, which is interesting because, I'll state this for the record, it may not be as fast as the Range Rover that shares, the SVR that shares its engine and suspension, but that thing cannot go off-road to save its life, whereas this one can and has nearly the same on-road performance. Which is
and boy, howdy can it. This thing is a beast. I mean, it's incredible. We saw one in the flesh at Destination Defender in Malibu.
Yep.
Back in November, and I mean... Yeah, it's hard not to drool all over this thing. But I always think that, price is going to scare people away. And then I'm always surprised at how many people out there can find, $200,000 or more for a vehicle. This article that we're looking at is based out of Australia. So it's all Australian dollars.
And you look at their first dislike is mountainous jump in price. And in Australian dollars, the Octa First Edition, which is the one that everyone is trying out, the P635, which I've never heard it called that before, but I like that. That car will cost you $291,542 which is
Australian dollar bucks, right?
Well, yes, that's the
bluey.
Yeah, bluey currency. So that is a lot of money, no matter what currency it's in. That's a lot of money,
right?
And apparently, another one of their dislikes is they had a few overheating warnings on their test drive. Now, I imagine it was very spirited driving, but the car should be able to deal with that.
So here's what I'm not clear on. I'm surprised I don't know this, but when are they expecting to ship these vehicles? If you buy one, when are you getting one?
You know, you don't really know just yet because the actual shipping date is still not really been released. They are taking orders now. So they're out of the reservation stage and into the order stage. But there isn't a formal word on when they will actually be shipping this car. And I believe that's because they're still squashing some of these issues, overheating and things that they've encountered during all of these international test drives and press days.
You know,
and
that's
things.
the time to do it, right? Fix those things before you ship these vehicles.
Which is counter to what Land Rover usually does, which is ship vehicles and then try to fix all the things that are still broken, and then in doing that, break other things. So this is a new plan for them to try to ship a vehicle that's not broken.
There's a lot of really great Nick Dimbleby photos in this
Of
article.
Nick Dimbleby himself?
No, but you can tell that Nick took the photo.
Yeah. Oh, you can always tell a Dimbleby.
It has a signature Dimbleby style to it.
It sure
beautiful.
does. Yeah, it does.
No, it sounds like it was a really successful press outing for them. You know, in addition to following Nick on Threads and Instagram and seeing his first look at a lot of it. There's been a number of different preview articles in addition to this Drive Australian one and other ones. And everybody generally agrees this thing is a monster out there. And, you know, I'm going to be really curious when they're actually going to have these cars ready to go.
Yep.
And what those different price tags are going to be, what that starting level is and what that like top of the line is. Yep. It's going to be a lot of money.
It's going to be a lot of money. And we know already that the first edition is over 200,000, but that the standard, if you will, edition, which, you know, paint and seats and things are somewhat reduced in fanciness, is going to be in the $150,000 range. But I don't know where options fall into that, right? If you want a fancy Octa roof rack, is that a special $100,000 version just for the Octa? I don't know. Made out of diamonds and elephant tusk or something. Who knows? But
yeah, I mean, obviously, everybody is saying this has been designed to take on the, and I quote, overpriced yet in high demand Mercedes-AMG G63.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's no question.
Yeah, the difference I think is that this is a bona fide bowler suspension developed rally car. I mean, this is a Defender Challenge car, better in some ways because it has even better suspension than those cars, but you can buy it and drive it on the road. Plus, those were the turbo diesel engines available in the UK. This is, of course, a completely different, monstrous BMW petrol engine. And so, I don't even think it's actually really competing with the Mercedes. It is on price, certainly. I think performance-wise, it's competing with the F-150 Raptor and the Bronco Raptor and those type of cars that are really just insane for the sake of being insane. Except that those cars cost probably what a set of wheels cost for this one. So,
yeah, that's probably true. These wheels and tires are spectacular on this Octa. As somebody who really has very strong feelings about the wheels and tires that are available on the current models for Defender, I can tell you that these ones are absolutely incredible. They're not like the rest, let's put it that way.
Yeah,
so when I plug that price in from this Australian article, comes out with today's exchange rate to $185,404 US. Once you add all the tariffs onto that they're bound to be put on that,
$600,000.
$600,000 for that car.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Who can't wait for that? Well,
it's really interesting, right? Because there's a lot of questions at the moment, and it seems to be changing every single day as to what is going to happen to automotive prices in this country and automotive production. And, finally, JLR posts their best quarter ever at the end of last year. And America is back to being their dominant market, and they're all in with North America. And, who knows what that's going to look like for the next.
Who knows indeed. Well, speaking of North America and our good friends at JLR, I didn't realize this, but they have a technology hub in Portland, Oregon, and they are significantly increasing their investment.
Yeah, they just announced this week on Tuesday, they put out a press release that they're going to be investing $180 million into their technology hub in Portland.
Yeah.
And, it sounds like this 50,000 square foot facility is where they are doing all of the tech and investment and research on autonomous driving and software-driven features that I'm sure you'll have to subscribe to in order to use.
Exactly, just like the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
I wonder, have they invested more in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon area because of its proximity to Pangolin 4x4 and Ike?
And Ike, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know this about him, but computers and Land Rovers are kind of like his two specialties.
It's true, yeah. Autonomous driving. Now, that's only because he will occasionally fall asleep while driving, and the 80-inch just keeps on going. It's fine.
No, I think it's more that, he and Jenna have solutions to, the levers popping out by putting bricks and cinder blocks down to make sure it doesn't, the transmission
bungee cords
pop
around
out
lever. It's true.
I mean, that's their version of autonomous driving.
It's true. Not popping out of gear on the freeway anymore.
It's cruise control. Just put a brick on the gas pedal. Floor it. It can't go very fast.
No, never going to reach the top speed of that anyways.
That's right.
But
that's right.
No. So over the next decade, apparently, the company is, like we said, investing $180 million in a 50,000 square feet technology hub, which is,
they already
cool.
have a building there.
Yep.
It sounds like they're just going to be putting a lot of resources into establishing it as their hub, their technology base. And I mean, it makes sense, right? You've got Apple and Nvidia and Google and things like that in that, Northern California up to Seattle kind of area. So Portland seems like a smart place to do that kind of work. And,
and that's apparently where the current systems, a lot of the onboard electrical systems have been developed. Of course, the ADAS, which is my favorite system, the autonomous driving assistance system that Jaguar Land Rover has come up with. And already ADAS is available in a number of different Land Rovers right now. You can get it in the Defender and the Range Rover. That's what does your autonomous parking. That's what does the Alexa and those sort of things. It's all in the ADAS system.
Sure. I would be really curious. Somebody out there, I hope, has done a study to see autonomous parking, like your car doing your parking for you.
Right.
Probably started mainstream hitting consumer vehicles. I don't know, 2018, 2015.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably coming
close. It was around before that, but
10 years
starting
ago
somewhere
now.
around there, every single vehicle started having it.
Could do it.
I've been really curious. How many people have that in their vehicle and have never used it? 95% of owners who have that feature do not use that feature. There is no force on earth that would make me feel more confident in the car's ability to park it than mine. Just saying.
And as most people know, the curbs here in Los Angeles, they are
up to my knees.
Yeah, they're built for the one day a year it rains here, because when it does rain here, it rains a torrential monsoon amount and then doesn't rain again for 300 days. But it does rain significantly when it does. And because of that, we have extremely tall curbs that are just seeking your extraordinarily expensive Octa rims to just tear a big chunk out of them. And I mean, I assume autonomous ADAS, if you will, won't run your car into that curb, but I can't trust it.
It's a very expensive car to just take that leap of faith that
smash that wheel into that curb.
I'm not, almost a decade into having vehicles. We've owned many vehicles that have that feature.
And do today.
I refuse to use it. That's one that I love. There's lots of other autonomous features I love. I love the adaptive cruise control. I use it all the time. Right? I love all my cameras. I find them really helpful in different scenarios and situations. I love the beep beeps. I'm glad that they made that a requirement in new cars over a decade ago. Think it's brilliant. I like my backup camera. Totally cool. But like the parking, the self-parking, nope. Heck no. Not using it. No. Refuse.
I do use the automated parking in the 80-inch quite frequently.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's because the handbrake just doesn't work at all. So as soon as you go to stop, it immediately starts rolling backwards. So that's nice when you need to back into a stall. It just immediately rolls backwards for you. So
yeah, that's a good feature.
It's a good feature. Yeah, and it's interesting that I wonder how much more stuff Land Rover is going to move here to the United States, again, based on tariffs and things like that. Is this a move to appease what would be a tariff-y government, or is this maybe just a note to the fact that there are a lot of individuals that have these kind of special skills in the Seattle, Portland area? That's really the place to be because of Microsoft and NVIDIA and those kind of companies that have a large base up there. Amazon, obviously. Costco, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say right now. I am flummoxed by what the future holds for these industries here in this country because, I don't know, it's a little weird right now. It's a little weird right now.
You and everyone else. Well, at that, it has been a good time this morning here where it lies. We need to do this more often. I feel like I haven't seen you since the last time you were on the show. So
pretty
nice
much.
to check in and just see how you're doing.
Passing ships in the night sometimes.
Nice to see you. Cooper and I miss you very much. We'd like you to come home. So
I'm the one who's always home. You're the one who's always gone these days.
And by home, you mean out in the desert somewhere rallying around. So.
Well, no, it's winter, so I'm actually skiing a lot right now.
It's tough. It's tough out there as I think we've established that. So yeah.
We'll have to come back on the show soon. Not only do we have to hear about Jenna and Ike's misadventures in another continent, but Jenna and I have all sorts of new things in the works this year that we are very excited to get to talk about and put out there.
Well, we have a couple of great shows coming up. We have some mystery guests that are both unknown and mysterious to both you and to us. And they'll be co-hosting the show with me while Ike is on his Ramashpringa in Africa. And if he decides to come back into the fold, he'll be back here probably 1st of March. And if not, then we're going to go on a countrywide talent search for a replacement Ike, which should be something. We'll see. He looks a lot like the guy from Stranger Things, the sheriff
not
guy.
A show. I should know that show. Yeah. It's not a show.
The guy who plays the guy who plays the Russian David Tennant. He looks.
David Tennant.
Yeah,
he doesn't look anything like David Tennant. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the same Ike?
Yeah, look at the guy when he's all dressed up as the Russian version of Captain America.
I mean, this is identical. So important. I'm going to do it while we are recording here. I need to settle. Okay.
David Tennant. Who wore it better?
David Tennant. Yeah. Stranger Things.
Maybe not in Stranger Things. He has to have a beard. That's very important. Has to have a beard.
No, Ty Tennant. David Tennant's son.
Ty Tennant? What?
According to AI.
No. Did you ask AI who looks like Ike Goss? Because it just
said,
yeah, you can't, because it would say Linus. That's the only thing it knows. That's David Tennant.
It doesn't look at all like
Ike 100%. Goss. Yeah, he does.
No, David Tennant images.
No, not David Tennant. Oh, sorry. No, he's
David Tennant.
He's Doctor Who. He's Doctor Who. Yeah, no, not David Tennant. No, David Harbour. Is that what his name is?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's David Harbour.
Oh,
David Harbour. Yeah.
Okay, that one I'm going to give to you. Yeah, Ike and David Harbour. They could be cousins. Maybe not brothers, but they could be cousins.
Yeah, they could be cousins.
I'll give you that one. But when you said David Tennant, I'm sorry, all of our UK listeners, that was it. They exploded. They threw their coffees at their car stereos, and that's it. We've lost them as listeners. All of a sudden, our listenership in the UK has just tanked.
Dropped. Well, that's another edition of Steve Can't Remember What David Is He Talking About. So
it's a good thing you work in the film and television industry, and these people are your colleagues.
I've not met either of these people, but if I do, I'm gonna get a photo with David Harbour and see and maybe David Tennant, sure, and see which one looks
Put them side by side and we'll do a poll. We're
going to do that. We're going to do an Instagram
Goss.
Poll this week of who wore it better, David Tennant, David Harbour, or Ike Goss. So,
folks, this is the hard-hitting Land Rover news that you come to our podcast to get squared out for you, just in case you weren't sure whether Ike Goss looks like David Tennant or not. Now you know. Now
Man.
We've clarified that. We've cleared the air.
It's going to be a crazy week until that guy gets back. So, at any rate, until then, maybe we'll talk to you next week, Liza. Maybe we won't. Who knows? I have no idea what the future has in store for us, but I'm excited, and hopefully everyone else too. So, until then, keep it between the ditches, and we'll talk to you next week.
Cheers.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Beres, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Beres. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.